Let's bring in political analyst Michael Geoghegan to talk more about the legacy of John Turner. Michael joins me from Williams Lake, British Columbia. Michael, you and I spoke not too long ago with regards to, as you heard there from Bob Rae, what unfolds in Parliament now. And he was talking about John Turner's impressions of what he's been seeing, far different from when he was in politics.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, John Turner, along with Brian Mulroney, was one of the first prime ministers I ever got to meet in real life. I've been able to meet with every prime minister from John Turner on, but it was certainly memorable to me that he was amongst the first, and certainly a person very dedicated to public life, and also a person who played a leading role in terms of rebuilding the federal Liberal Party in British Columbia. But in terms of the heightened partisanship, although we don't have it to the same extent as in the United States, certainly we're being driven by the same things that have happened in social media, where in essence our prejudices and biases and views get reinforced. Hey, if you believe the earth is flat, we'll send you a bunch of websites that talk about that. And I think the same thing has happened with partisan politics. If you're liberal, we'll send you a bunch of stuff that's liberal. If you're conservative, we'll send you a bunch of stuff that's conservative, because those social media platforms want you to click. They don't really care what your views are.
You know, it's interesting when you talked about the United States, and that was a huge sticking point back in 1988 with regards to free trade with the U.S. And John Turner saying this was the fight of his life, saying that, you know, Canada would fall into U.S. colonialism if they maintained or I guess, you know, revived trade agreements with the U.S. And that was the debate, that harsh debate in 1988 between Brian Mulroney and John Turner. What do you think he would be saying here, looking at the relationship we currently have now?
Well, I think in terms of the free trade agreement, it was beneficial to have a free trade agreement with the United States. I don't think it was very beneficial for either Canada or the United States to have a free trade agreement with Mexico, because, of course, that allowed the massive exporting of manufacturing jobs and the emergence of a Rust Belt in the Northeast United States and of course, Southern Ontario and Quebec. So I think he would be looking on that, and I think he'd feel somewhat vindicated in terms of his views, in that we didn't have free trade amongst, you know, sort of fellow first world nations, but we also had free trade with countries that could massively undercut us in terms of labor and environmental laws and the lack thereof. So I certainly think that his legacy is going to be a strong one, in the sense that he was a very powerful politician. You know, in the 70s, finance minister, attorney general. He was always seen as Pierre Elliott Trudeau's successor. The irony being is that when he finally got the chance to succeed Trudeau, it was a very, you know, short 79 days in office before the Mulroney era began. So definitely someone who left his mark.
Yeah, and many saying that it was a mistake to call an election that early. But again, those times, you know, very easy to say now compared to what was going on back then. You mentioned there, Michael, that you had an opportunity to meet him. What were your impressions? Tell me about that moment, if you could.
Well, you know, it was while he was in Ottawa, and it was actually just after, you know, it was after he had been defeated as prime minister. But certainly someone who was very passionate about the importance of public life, very encouraging to anyone who had an interest in that area, and in a sense, also someone who cautioned against being overly partisan, and certainly a view I tend to agree with, because every political party can have good ideas. Every political party can have bad ideas. Every political party can have good leaders, bad leaders, et cetera. And so I think we really have to look more at an individual and a policy by policy basis than on simply a brand. And I think he was right there.
Yeah, and a lot of, as you heard from Bob Rae earlier, it didn't matter the party in the end, though. Outside of the doorway, outside of the walls there was still that friendship and that relationship that he had with, of course, Bob Rae, Brian Mulroney, as well as with others in politics. He'll certainly be remembered. Certainly quite a strong stature in any room that he walked in. From Williams Lake, British Columbia, political analyst Michael Geoghegan. Thank you, Michael, for joining us as we continue to follow this breaking story.
Thank you.